Our topic tonight, all about injury. We're throwing a big wide umbrella out there for you tonight on this rainy Metier. Matthew Metier, good evening, my friend.
Thank you, Kenny.
You had a good Easter, I trust?
I did
to brag
indeed.
too much, but the reality is your firm, y'all do a lot of cases about injury, people getting hurt, and this is perfect for you tonight.
Oh, it is, Kenny. It's really what we do, honestly. It's clearly 95% at least of what we do in the firm. So absolutely, this is kind of our bread and butter. It's what we do. We specialize in this kind of work. We enjoy doing this work, Kenny. I mean, there's nothing better, than helping people, and that's really why I'm a lawyer. It's just a great feeling when people need you at their most, really, and come in and be able to help them through the process and get them a good result. And so, absolutely,
so much for your patience. What can we help you with tonight?
Hey, Stephen.
Yes, sir. It's nice speaking to you.
Oh, thank you.
You as well.
Steve? Go ahead, Stephen.
Yes,
what's your question?
Are you looking for? Yeah, my question is, I was driving a vehicle when I was 21 years old, and I was involved in a car accident.
Okay.
And after, 2 years after the car accident, and after my medical bills and everything, I have a forehead laceration. Had to have trauma surgery for all that.
Pretty serious.
But 2 or 3 years after that, Oldsmobile or General Motors, there was a federal recall. There's a bad ignition switch in the vehicle that doesn't allow, it literally causes it. The manufacturer, the bad ignition switch does not facilitate the airbags. The airbags did not go off.
Oh, I gotcha.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, Stephen, that could have been a big factor in your accident then.
Yeah, yes, sir. I think my injuries would have been lessened if the airbags had went off.
Ooh, Stephen, there's a lot to there.
Yeah, there's a lot there, Matt.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So, all right, basic car wreck kind of case work, obviously. The first thing you start with, you look at the insurance available. Not only who caused the wreck, we call it the tortfeasor, but let's just say the negligent party. We look at their insurance first.
Okay.
And then, of course, you can look at your own insurance through UM coverage, uninsured or underinsured coverage. That's another thing. But the analysis doesn't stop there, Kenny. Quite frankly, in significant car wreck cases, it sounds like Stephen was in one, you look at whether there was any recalls involved in the product. You see it all the time in the media, just today there was a big recall announced. And then also crashworthiness. I mean, that litigation did not end with the Ford Pinto. That litigation goes on to this day about crashworthiness.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
You kind of think you don't hear about it much like you used to, but absolutely. I mean, we're involved in some of that actually currently, and with design issues and things like that. So those are all kind of the issues that you have to look at in those kind of significant cases. Now, what he's talking about now brings a statute of limitations question.
Normally, I was going to ask you about that.
Absolutely. Normally, generally, and of course, in Mississippi, the general statute's 3 years from the date of the injury. However, but there's also something called the discovery rule.
Okay.
So, it's really, so when he knew or should have known about the recall. So because if there's no way for Stephen to know about the recall, obviously it shouldn't go against him, which seems fair. So that's one issue. So he'll have some time, but the way he kind of said it when I was 21, the question, it seems like that was maybe more than a few years ago. And so, like everything, and we talk a lot about this on the show, the law really requires, and for good reason, that people move on things. You can't kind of sit on cases for a long time. And I'm not accusing Stephen of sitting on anything.
No. Right.
It sounds like, 2 years later, that's a long time. So those are all kind of the things I'd be interested about.
In Biloxi, Harold, good evening. What can we help you with?
Hey, Harold.
Yeah, I was calling to ask this gentleman, I'm a Vietnam veteran and went to the VA.
Yes, sir.
To have a cataract taken out, which is very basic surgery. I've had one done prior.
Yep.
And they botched it. The VA, totally botched it. They tore my retina loose. And then it got so complicated, they referred me to a doctor, a private doctor, a private surgeon, who had to perform 2 more surgeries. And he eventually told me, he said, look, that retina was so tore up that we cannot repair it. There's scar tissue on it, and you'd have no sight out of that eye, or you're never going to have normal sight. Now, when I filed through the VA, they in turn told me that because I signed the piece of paper out of the stacks of paper they shoved in front of me pre-op,
right, Harold,
that I signed away my right to litigate.
I got.
Yeah, let me jump on this.
Yeah, Harold, let me just get in here.
Good news for you, Harold. Not true. Okay, you didn't, just by signing that stuff, you didn't sign away your right to litigate. All right, listen, any case, that kind of case against the VA, that would kind of go under what's called the Federal Tort Claims Act. And that's kind of its own special procedure, like everything else that we talk about the show. That's a unique event in and of its own. In fact, I represented a veteran up in the Delta that walked into a VA, and unfortunately, while he was there under their care, they broke his neck and it rendered him a paraplegic. So, I mean, I've done some of these cases, and I love representing veterans, quite frankly, and you do see some of this. But these cases under the Federal Tort Claims Act, they require you, before a lawsuit is filed, you've got to put the federal government on notice.
Okay.
They're very specific what you have to do. The federal government then has a certain window of time to kind of conduct an investigation, and they generally will, and then give you kind of result. And then if you're not happy with the investigation, then you file it in federal court. And interestingly, it is defended by the U.S. Attorney's Office. They have not just a criminal division, which you kind of hear about, but they also have a civil division as well. And so they defend these cases, and these cases are heard in federal court. But yeah, just because it's the VA, and you know that you can seek kind of tort or legal redress. Now listen, there is very good care at the VA. You know, not all care is bad.
That's right.
Sounds like you've had a bad result, sounding for sure, and it's something I'd want to look at. But once again, that's a 2-year statute. You've got to start that process, and very specific. And this is something kind of we also talk about, Kenny, is interview your lawyer. You know, this is a type of case, you know, Tort Claims Act cases, VA cases.
Right.
Not every lawyer does that. I mean, you know, our firm, we do a lot of things, but there are things that we don't do.
Right.
And if you were to call, you know, now this is the kind of case we do, happens to be, but there are cases you would call us about, and I would send you somewhere else.
Right.
I'd say, you know, I am a lawyer, but you need to go to someone that does this on a daily basis, or does this all the time, and so you need to go to, you know, this person or this, you know, and
For example, termites.
Absolutely, Termite Tom. That's where I'd send you. If you watched our show 2 weeks ago, you'd know Termite Tom. Anyway, so that's the kind of thing. So anyway, but sorry about the bad, you know, the bad result with surgery. But once again, you definitely need to call somebody. Federal Tort Claims Act, 2 years, get the ball rolling.
Harold, really do appreciate the call tonight. You know,
thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you. And that's not an easy one to call in media side of personal injury and these type of cases. It has really just kind of transformed y'all's world.
Absolutely, Kenny. You know, it seems to touch every case. I tell you, I mean, you know, if you have a lawsuit, you know, social media is going to play some part, maybe a small part, but generally a big part, particularly in a, you know, it seems to, it comes up very often in divorce cases, obviously, and a lot in injury cases, you know, under the auspice of, you know, what have you put online, what things, you know, you're saying maybe in the lawsuit you can't do X, Y, and Z, but online it shows you doing X, Y, and Z. So I can tell you it comes up almost in every case. I can tell you it's asked about in every case. It's, you know, do you have a Facebook page? You know, what do you have on Facebook? And you know, you see the lawyers walk in for depositions with that Facebook folder, and they putting the photos down and all that kind of stuff. And so
they're looking.
Yeah, they are, and we deal with. I mean, on the front end. I mean, when we meet with a client that we take, that's in our first meeting where we talk about social media. That's the first thing we say, and what we say is, do not post anything on social media about if you have active litigation, ongoing litigation. That's not something you want on social media.
Now, Matt, I know that sounds like common sense to me, but you know, for some folks, that's a big deal to say I'm not going to post anything on social media for several weeks or months.
I mean, you know, right. Well, some people, as you know, just love posting, and so it's a big part of their lives, and so you can understand how, you know, if you're a poster and you put things on social media, and if you're dealing with an injury, that's going to probably dominate what you're posting about, and so.
But they're watching.
But they are watching, and so you've just got to be very careful. So
next week here, and then in 2 weeks the Attorney General. But until then, good night.